everyone. My name is Kate, and I'm a financial technology advisor here at Hyperbots. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to have the amazing Claudia Mejia with us. Hello, Claudia. How are you doing today?
Hi, Kay. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to meet you. It's so wonderful to have you here. So, for those tuning in, Claudia is the managing director at Ikigai Edge Consulting. Today, we are diving into a crucial topic handling overcharged sales tax invoices. Let's get started. So, Claudia, let me ask you the first question. What should a company's first step be if a vendor has overcharged sales tax on an invoice?
Well, the first step is contact the vendor. Obviously, we want to have really good relationship with vendors and making sure that they have tax controls and tax regulations. So, being that said, basically, you contact the vendor, you ask for a new invoice, and making sure that you have the correct tax amount. It's essential that the taxers align with the state and local regulations. So that's why you never want to underpay or overpay. You just want to pay what is right by the state regulations. So if you have been overcharged by whatever percentage, you just ask for to an invoice to be reissued.
That makes sense. Moving on, why is it best to ask the vendor to issue a corrected invoice rather than paying the overcharged tax amount?
You never want to overpay tax, right? And
Yeah.
also creates a lot of overburden, administrative overburden to try to get a refund from the state or clean up those transactions. So that's the cleaner way to have clean books from both sides, making sure that there is no cash flow that it needs to get out of the company, and it's really not a liability. So it's just important to have accurate books and follow the regulations as they are.
I, I completely agree with you on this. So, if the vendor is unable or unwilling to issue a corrected invoice, what options does the company have?
Well, the company can pay the invoice and then file a refund or credit to the state tax authority. Obviously, that's not ideal. You're going to have administrative burden and a lot of follow through to get the credits. You can get the refund if the state permits, right? But there is that method that you can use, but ideally, you don't want to go through that process.
Understood. Coming to the next question, could you explain why overcharged sales tax might require state level intervention if the vendor doesn't correct the invoice?
Well, the state has the authority to issue the refunds. So, being that say, if the vendor does not issue a new invoice, the buyer always can go the refund from the state, and the state can always intervene, right? Make the refunds to the vendor and things like that. Obviously, for the state to make refunds, the documentation has to be very well presented and show the evidence that obviously there was an overcharge.
That was very insightful. So, Claudia, why is it important to keep records of communication with the vendor and any refund requests made to the state?
We have talked about this before, and basically, you always want to have your records and transactions very clean for audit and compliance purposes. You're very proactive about either overcharges or undercharges, and every documentation that you can have to make sure that you can go to the state and to ask for any overcharges. Obviously, is the path to go if you cannot have the solution through the vendor. Documentation is important and is always going to be make your life easier when you have the audits coming to review your books and understand that you actually been proactive with those processes.
I understand. So, we have reached almost the end of our discussion today. So, the last question is, what is the best long term approach if overcharging becomes a recurring issue with a vendor?
You always want to have good relationship with your vendors. Communication is key. You need to make sure, okay, you have been overcharging me for, let's say, 3 times in a row. What is happening? Is there something that we need to review? Maybe the tax rates are not being updated in their systems. What are the controls that you have in their systems? And then you can have that honest and kind communication for them to basically solve that issue from their side. If this keeps recurring and solutions are not happening, obviously you as a buyer need to solve it from your side, and you might need to consider other vendors, because these kind of issues create a lot of administrative burden in both sides. But obviously, if you are the buyer, you want to make sure that the vendor takes into consideration all the tax regulations and follows all compliances needed.
That is a very interesting point. I agree with you on that. Thank you so much, Claudia, for joining us and sharing your insights. And a big thanks to all our listeners. I'll see you soon. Have a great day ahead.